Hello, everyone. This is Ethereum Cat Herders Meeting 47, and I'm your host, Pooja Ranjan. Today, we are also joined by Sam Richards from Ethereum.org team to discuss the first item on agenda. So without a delay, let's just get in. I'm going to share the link in the chat for people to refer here. And the first item is ECH domain and updating ECH information at ethereum.org. So first of all, thank you, Sam, for joining in today and for the help with the Ethereum.org website, the visibility that Cat Herders team has received. So the current status is like we have got an independent web page that ethereumcatherders.com with a domain name registered in our name, and we have emails with that. Alita, William, I, and
Gonna have to make it the Ethereum dog herders.
yeah. So we are recently looking into upgrading the website and making the information more visible for people and can be of more use. Like we are curating a lot of information that is related to the website, the network upgrade and the important proposals that undergo these upgrades and other stuff. So the idea of having a page is to pull all the mainnet related information in one place, like the details of network upgrade for Ethereum 1. I mean, like so far we have been heavily engaged with Ethereum 1, so that's it. Maybe in future, if Ethereum 2.0 undergoes any upgrade, we will look into that as well. And to curate resources, meeting notes availability. So the idea is to increase the reach of the content and community participation. The proposal that we have is like to get a subdomain or maybe a page at ethereum.org that can be managed by the cat herders, maybe ethereum.org/ech or ech.ethereum.org. I mean, I'm open to suggestion here and what we can propose, like what we would be doing with that page or domain or whatever it is. We'll try to keep the information, related information up to date, all the meeting notes, like make sure that they are pointed towards the right place, like relevant meetings, Alcodem meetings, EIPAP or whatever. And whatever materials that we do, curate resources about the proposals. We'll bring that, the PEEP and EAP series that we have started recently, the video series about education of any proposals. So yeah, that's the basic idea.
That sounds awesome to me. I would like to know more about whether or not we're planning like to just have it be like a link where you go to ethereum.org/ech and then it's just gonna like redirect you to Ethereum Cat Herders website, or if we wanted to do like you were saying, like an embedded site.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, what I can help give some context on, or just like give some color to the options there. First, hey everybody, my name's Sam. For those of you who I haven't met, nice to meet you. So I'm the lead developer on ethereum.org. And what we focus on, as you might imagine, is a lot of just like onboarding and educational content for people in the Ethereum community. Lately, we've done a lot of work around just like building out our developer resources. If you go to the site and poke around, you'll see we've added a lot of just like community-driven documentation, primarily for dApp developers and people just looking to get the foundations of Ethereum. But I think we're definitely interested in and open to like expanding content into like network upgrades and more resources for like client and protocol developers. So I think there's definitely potential for alignment here. I think the question is like, how do you folks want to manage the website and manage your content? So to give a little more context, like Pooja reached out to me yesterday and we chatted a bit on Discord about a potential for a subdomain for the Ethereum Cat Herders site. So that's not really something like I have control over. That's more of like a application process to the ESP team. And they kind of sort out just like domain and like resource allocations for like communities who are interested in doing that. So
ESP
that's,
being, have you,
sorry, ecosystem support program. So
oh,
that's
thanks.
like the grants giving organization within the Ethereum Foundation. So I'll link to that real quick. So like if you guys are interested in like maintaining your own site, ideally getting a subdomain on ethereum.org, like that's the route I would recommend. I think another route, what I kind of propose to Pooja, because I think there's room to just like reduce overhead and get a lot of the benefits you're looking for, is to like potentially just put the content straight on the like core ethereum.org domain, because that's a site like I have a lot of authority and control to say like, yeah, let's do it, give you the thumbs up. For context, like that website is completely open source. It's on GitHub. Like we are trying to generate a community to contribute content and like continually keep it up to date. We put a lot of work into just like making the process to contribute and edit like as smooth as possible. And I think the pros of this potential approach is obviously like you would get content on ethereum.org. So you get like the credibility and the SEO authority that comes with that. You get a lot of eyeballs from the existing traffic we get. Just for context, we had over 500,000 visitors last month to the site. And you potentially get help from like the development and design resources we have. Like it's a pretty small team right now. It's basically me and our content designer, Ryan. But I think we're getting buy-in this coming year to kind of like build out that team a little more. So I'm hoping we'll have more development resources. So I think those are the pros of that kind of approach. I think the cons for you all to consider is just like potentially like less control over the overall site. Is like if you have your dedicated website, you have your own developers, you guys can do whatever you want, obviously. And if you want like really custom functionality and just like complicated features, we might not have like the bandwidth at any given time to like build out some special design or like API or like Web3 functionality, who knows? So I think
So would I
part of
be
it,
able to like build that out myself and then do like a PR or something?
potentially, yeah. So like our website's built with Gatsby, which is a React framework. So it supports markdown content. So like if a lot of your content is just like able to be added in markdown files, like I'd be happy to help like build a template for that section of the site to like give you a custom layout and maybe, you know, like a table of contents or like navigation for what you guys specifically need. Or there's definitely the option, like if you're comfortable, yeah, contributing your own code, like I would love to be able to collaborate and just like basically give you a corner of the website and like say, hey, go run with this.
Yeah, I'm a full stack developer, so I don't mind
Awesome.
doing my own stuff, but it's mainly like the biggest concern for me with doing that would be like I just would like to, you know, sort of have oversight. I mean, I'm sure that you would, but like I would want to know like how the oversight would work so that we can so I can stay within the framework of like the way that the, you know, I don't want to go turn the color scheme or something on my side, if that makes sense.
Totally. Yeah. I don't have like a good answer for that. Like this is something I think we've like talked about trying to do, of like what potential collaborations could we do with projects in the community on content, just because like ethereum.org does just have that such like powerful domain and credibility, but it's a process we haven't really defined much. So I'd be happy to work with you to try to outline some of that. Like we do have like a contributing section of the website where we try to outline like, you know, here's our design principles and like here's how we like prioritize accessibility versus like fancy, you know, whistles on the site. But I think overall, like we're pretty open to like a particular section of the website having its own look and feel, as long as it is like, I don't know, somewhat unified. So it would definitely be a balancing act of figuring that out. But yeah, if you have suggestions on how to go about it, or yeah, like want to look into that further, I'd be happy to talk more about it.
Yeah, I'm definitely
actually-
really interested in the having a spot on the website to just like throw our stuff. I think that would be great. So are we able, are you on the Discord?
I am, yeah, I just hopped in yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, I would say I can always just follow up with you via like direct message or something.
I think William has raised his hand. William, do you want to say something here?
Yeah. I do have a few questions. First of all, thanks. I've actually contributed to Ethereum.org. You guys got a great thing going on over there.
Yeah, good to meet you over the phone, William.
Hey, what's the connection between the Ethereum.org website and the foundation? Like what nature?
I would say
of connection is
like
there?
loosely controlled, mission aligned. Like, so I've been at
It
the
is
Ethereum Foundation for a year now. It's technically controlled by Ethereum.org. Like, as much as possible, I would say the foundation tries to create like somewhat autonomous teams.
Uh-huh.
The
Yeah,
Ethereum.org is one of those teams. So our full-time people get paid by the foundation. Then we have like a variety of part-time contributors and volunteer contributors. But ultimately, yeah, like the EF does control the DNS that's behind Ethereum.org, and it controls like the access to the GitHub repository.
So there has been a concern since we got started, even, of keeping a very clear separation between ECH and the EF. So I think something that we would really need to consider is if we're like, in light of that, if it's possible or not. And I want to say also that like, I'm thrilled by the offer. Being able to have a part of the Ethereum.org website would not only give us more of a public spotlight, more people would be able to notice us, we'd get more traffic. Like, I think it's a terrifically kind and generous offer, but at the same time, I'm really, really hesitant to put ourselves on an EF website.
Yeah, totally understand the concern. And again, I don't have all the answers here. Like, I will say there's been a concerted effort within the EF since I've joined to establish Ethereum.org as like a distinct entity that
semi-autonomous,
is like semi-autonomous, community-driven effort. And like that's the reason like we've built out like a separate website, Ethereum.Foundation, to try to represent and like create a distinction where like Ethereum.org is not the website for the foundation, it's the website for Ethereum. Granted, it still does control like and have a big like arm in like the resources that go towards it. So definitely something to consider. And I guess I should add is just like, I don't know exactly what shape or form your potential content would take. Like if you guys are trying to build out like a heavily branded, like Ethereum cat herders on every page, there is content, we should potentially talk about that, because I don't want to create a slippery slope where like a bunch of projects are trying to get their brand and their logos on every page. For me, it'd be more like if you guys want to add resources on like what to know about this EIP, and we have some like subtitle or italics of like, this content was provided thanks to the Ethereum cat herders, like linking back to your core site. I don't know. Like we'd still, again, have to figure out those details. But I do want to say up front, like would definitely prefer to avoid any heavily like, this is Ethereum cat herders content, more this is just like, this is open source content under the Creative Commons license that is just like information for Ethereum community members.
Yeah, if I could just backtrack to the beginning of the point that you were making, I mean, yeah, I think probably everybody on this call knows that the foundation has taken much more of like setting up either fully autonomous or semi-autonomous teams for a while now. I think one of the major reasons behind the division of the EF and the cat herders is really a public perception thing, because if we're involved with coordinating hard forks and people perceive, even like day one, like just got into crypto, people perceive the cat herders as being part of the foundation. So then it just sort of perpetuates this masternode kind of theory, which is like, really the foundation controls everything. So like, I mean, you don't have to convince me that like, Vitalik doesn't give you calls at 3 a.m. saying that you need to change like the link list on the developer page. But it's really like a lot of it is just that theater and branding of just like making sure people get that we're something else. In light of that, actually, one of the options you said actually really struck me as a very good option, which is in terms of hard fork coordination or maybe some of the EIP work or some of the other things that we sort of curate and have our hands in, if there could be a page of content, like you were saying, which would be completely ethereum.org themed, but is sort of the information that we curate. And then, like you said, so something on the bottom or at the top, just saying like information brought by cat herders. In addition to us keeping our own domain and our own page, that really does strike me as the right path here. The information gets the visibility that we want, but at the same time, we don't have that sort of like domain crossover.
Yeah, I agree. I suspect the best approach is, yes, somewhat of a balance between the two, of like the more evergreen content that's just like very information based, education based, like put it on ethereum.org if you guys want. Happy to work on PRs together. That content, we can say, hey, this was provided by Ethereum cat herders. Here's their site if you want to check it out. That gives you guys like the referral and the credibility benefits. For the more like coordinating an actual upgrade to keep that independence, you may want to like operate your own blog just to like have that be the source, so people don't confuse that or misinterpret that as like coming from the EF.
So,
is there a possibility?
Oh yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Is there a possibility for some dynamic content? Like the one thing I'm thinking of right now is we tend to have a hand in some level of the hard fork or network upgrade coordination. So just being able to say like next hard fork these are the IPs that are being included. These are the test nets or ephemeral test nets they're being run on, which would need to update every hard fork. Something like that is also within the realm of possibility.
For sure. Yeah. So right now, basically the two options are like create a page in Markdown or create a page with React components. And essentially you can build any custom functionality that you would want there.
Cool. Excellent. Yeah, so that's all my piece.
So I would like to add some more context, like why we are looking into that kind of page or domain or something. So let's forget the idea of having domain as of now, because as we discussed, like it seems to me like having a page would be easier option to go ahead with. So this group, the cat herders group, it's basically a group of volunteers, and we are funded based on the tasks that are being performed by this group. And this funds that we are receiving, mostly it's coming through some or the other grants, the Moloch grant, and we are also looking for some ESP grants. So yes, we are very closely associated to them, like in terms of funding and the tasks that we do, we respond back to them. So that was the idea of having it. But what I think that the difficult part would be if we want to go ahead with just one page, and that is network, upgrade specific. The other task that is performed for communication and coordination, it would be really hard to put in, some categories. Like if we have the network upgrade page, we would be missing the contents of educational resources, like, the video series, the peep and eat that I was talking about. Like we bring in one author, we discuss about the proposal, good and bad about that, and ask some questions. So these are all good resources, and whatever resources we are making, we are funded by the Moloch or the ESP people. So it's all open for community. So and one more thing, like I would like to share this link. What is the current status, like how we go ahead? The present website that we have of cat herders is also managed by a GitHub page. Like we have this GitHub page, and we add one. I mean, there is one file that we keep on updating on a regular basis, and that's how we try to get this thing updated. And something similar can be done with Ethereum.org. I mean, we would not like to cloud the page with our design and style. We'll try to be in the theme of whatever is Ethereum. I mean, Ethereum.org theme is there. Simple text, just information piece, and make them available for community.
I get that it's a lot easier that way, but I really think it's a very bad idea if we don't have our own site.
Okay, then let's try to keep it in separate ways. Like try to answer one question first, like if this is at all possible, and then we will think about should we have it in parallel, or we should just completely abandon the other side and come to this thing. So while we have Sam, so I would like to get more on that. So is this something which is possible and can be done? Like if we would move in that direction, what is the chances of feasibility, and any issues that you can foresee that we can face?
For sure. I mean, that sounds very doable to me. I think, again, it depends on like the specific content. Like we would probably want to think through just like the information architecture of the site. Like I'll share, like, here's a basic landing page we have explaining what EIPs are. And Pooja, I think you even helped create this page. So this is an example of like using a static markdown file to generate an informational page. Like, and we could potentially expand this as like a whole directory of the website. You guys write up some article or just like educational piece on a specific EIP, what's the status of it? Like that could be a very like easy and goal aligned like collaboration to add to the site. When it gets to, more like this is like the Ethereum cat herder is announcing our plans for this network upgrade, like probably less of like a relevant fit for something to live on Ethereum.org. And I think that goes to William's point of just like, it sounds like for that type of content, like it probably would make sense for you folks to either have your own blog or website or however you want to like handle that type of content.
So we already have a blog separately, like we have Cat Herders Medium. I have shared a document in the chat. If you go to the website layout section of that, kind of drafted the navigation like on a very high level. So it talks about like what would be the basic content that we are planning to add in there. So this is mostly coming from the Ethereum mainnet, as of now, Ethereum 1.0 chain. And the contents in my mind are completely relevant, and as I mentioned that it would be updated. So I find that this is something that can live forever. I mean, it's not something about the one section about the members and all, if that is something not acceptable or beyond the rules of the Ethereum.org, we can just remove that part. That was initially designed for cat herders having separate website, but that can be removed. Other than that, I think the most of the content that we are planning to add on the website is very, very much relevant to community. So I am just sharing it to give you a high level of idea of what kind of content we want to have it on the page there.
Awesome. Yeah, this is very helpful.
And about, talking about separate contents, we already have a Medium blog and we publish different blogs. So we can have a particular section there on that page about, Cat Herders blog. And in that blog, we will be talking about, which is like something specific to cat herders. Say, for example, if we are having some community meeting or something like that, so we can have it, limited to that section.
Right. So just to give my 2 cents after quickly looking at it, like I think, network upgrade section, information about past upgrades, like links to where discussion is happening about current upgrades. I think that makes a lot of sense to potentially add to ethereum.org. Like the resources section, giving explanations of, like the fee market with EIP 1559, Peep and Eep potentially makes a lot of sense. Where I like, see more a reason for, like maintaining your own Medium blog or custom website is more like meeting notes. Like, I don't think we want to start a precedent where like every team or DAO wants to start posting their Medium notes on Ethereum.org to like increase their exposure or what have you.
Just a quick explainer there. Meeting notes there actually are like all core devs ETH2 meeting
Right.
notes.
Oh, interesting.
So these are actually getting into Ethereum/PM GitHub repo. We would be just adding the link because these are done by us. So we would be just providing the appropriate link where people can go. So these are actually for H1 and H2 meetings.
Though I do
Cool.
think Sam's point is very relevant to our actual internal notes. Like it
Yeah,
would make
yeah,
sense
yeah.
for those to get skipped.
Got it.
Okay. Well, yeah, in that case, I mean, linking out to those, I feel like is, I mean, at the end of the
Those are
day,
also
it's like,
written in Markdown, by the way, so you might be able to just include them, but yeah.
right. So that could, potentially work really well. If like currently they're just living on a GitHub repo, essentially.
Mhm.
I think, again, like whatever is the more like just general resources and like specific, or I guess not specific to any one project, is where I would recommend we at least like focus to start. The ones that are less known, like, I don't know, putting a page with like the members of the Ethereum cat herders, that sounds getting into the territory of like favoring a specific team or project.
Yeah, that can be removed. I mean, I do not have hard and fast like interest that should be there. Initially, it was designed for having a separate website, so that was kept there. But certainly, I mean, it's fine by us.
Yeah, I think, again, no fast and hard rule. Like what we're looking to avoid is just like opening the door for a bunch of projects to come to our site and like try to do a bunch of link building and marketing on ethereum.org, right? Like as much as possible, just like, yes, if it's valuable for visitors, if it's like general information, like we're happy to try to like give shout outs to you folks who are like taking the time and energy to build out these resources. And again, like happy to like reference, your website of like, hey, this was like, built thanks to the Moloch DAO grants by the Ethereum cat herders, stuff like that. But any like specific pages focused on like your blog post, your newsletter, like we try to avoid kind of like endorsing any one initiative there.
Right. I'm totally fine by that. So do you think this is something doable? And, my concern there is like right now we are doing it, managing it with our cat herders repo, GitHub repo. So that is completely okay with us. Like whenever we want to change, we do that. These things in my, experience keeps changing bi-weekly. If not like weekly, we have to update these stuff bi-weekly. So how do you think, if at all we go this route, would be managed? Like should we get access to that particular page or maybe in GitHub repo, wherever it is, or we have to create pull request every time? So how do we think we can go about it?
Right. Still undefined at this point. I think it would start by like you guys would open pull requests into our repo. So that would be like forking our repository, opening pull requests. I think we could get to a point where like, we give you folks write access to like certain files. So like you could merge at will. And then when we actually like deploy the site, that would need some quick final review. But in general, I mean, I like to think we move pretty fast. We deploy the site usually multiple times a week. So I think we could be pretty responsive to, like changes in content or just like pull requests in general.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Alita, do you have any thoughts on it? Because I know you are working on improving the website currently. And if we have to go by this content or the things that we are already discussing, do you think it is something possible? Like if there is any estimate or something you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I think ultimately we just need a little bit more information and a little bit more of like a fleshed out plan in terms of, what content we're going to want to bring off and keep on, or if we just have everything even on our site and then just also put it like copied onto Ethereum.org. So I think having more information about that would be good regarding the deployment and stuff. Also just kind of looking at the code is probably the best next step.
Cool. Yeah, folks, sorry, I gotta hop off. I got another call. But yeah, again, like I'm happy to pull some info together, just like our current deployment contribution process, how that works. I think ultimately though, yeah, it's kind of like on you folks to decide, yeah, just like how you want to control your content, right? Like, do you do like essentially give away the rights to the educational resource? Like our repo is open source, the content is Creative Commons. So what content like you want to own as the cat herders versus like contribute to the community and potentially get more exposure, how you want to manage the custom domain yourself, or just like put everything on Medium and put the rest on ethereum.org. I don't know. I think there's plenty of considerations. You guys know better than me, but yeah, happy to help make whatever we want happen at the end of the day.
Sure. Thank you so much, Sam, for taking out time. I'll be in touch with you to inform you how we would like to proceed. But I'm sure that if we go by the route of having at least one page, or even if it is a copy on ethereum.org, so I'll update you about that.
Yeah, and I guess just one more thing, like if you folks do want to say host all the content on your site yourself, like, and just like for potential additional exposure, since we have a hefty amount of incoming traffic day to day, like we could potentially set up some mirror where we also show the page on ethereum.org and then like set some canonical to your website so we don't like blow up your SEO traffic or anything crazy. But yeah, nice meeting you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Okay, so now I guess moving on to the actual progress that's been being made to the website. Because I know that that's number 2 on the agenda. Basically not too much. Like since the last meeting, I haven't really worked on it too much. I did convert it from React to Gatsby because I noticed that Gatsby's pretty good. It has some good options. So I'm working on that. I'm a little bit like blocked in the sense that I don't really have a plan to like do. So I'm just kind of like twiddling my thumbs a little bit. So I think it would be really good if we sort of maybe plan, if we created a plan where we just sat down and just brainstormed for like an hour or two over a weekend or something. And then also, what?
I'd be happy to do that with you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love that. Because it's just really hard to like be, I'm just not a very creative person, I guess. So I just kind of, I'm looking at the code and I'm like, I'm just whatever. So yeah, I think that'd be great. And then finally, like I'm finding it hard to sort of like get motivated because I haven't like done that much work in the past like 4 weeks. And I'm finding it kind of hard to get motivated. But like if I get like so I would like to request funding in some like capacity. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but because I think if I did have funding, I would feel significantly more motivated. Just because I guess that's how I work. But yeah, so I was wondering if that's an option. And
Yep, totally. So I was about to announce this later in the meeting today. We are like in process of getting that funding, the grant from Molotov. The grant has been approved and we had requested, I mean, we kind of made some room for website updating in there. So yep, that is there in the plan.
well, good. That sounds awesome. Yeah, we can discuss that further then. But that definitely makes me feel more motivated. So cool. I'm excited.
Great, thank you. So, I mean, if William and Alita, and if you would like to propose some time when we can meet next to discuss on this website thing, maybe in the channel, Discord channel, we can talk about it further and decide on a meeting and see where we go. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Yeah, I might just reach out to you on Telegram or something like that. Try and work something out.
Yeah, sure. Moving on, the next item on agenda is meeting notes update. So just as a reminder for the people in the pool, let us know your availability If you are already scheduled for a meeting notes and you think you can't complete it on time, we would like to have the PR up for notes created in like 3 days. And if something is like a very long meeting or complex discussion, 5 days are fine. So we would try to be in that so that we make the notes available for community and usable as well. In this section particularly, I'm hoping to get people from the notes pool who are writing, documenting the notes and may be able to summarize what happened with that meeting. The first one is EIP meeting. I don't see the person who documented the notes, but a few outcomes of the meetings that I remember is like the cat herders are supposed to work on the change of EIP status uh, task that we started a few months ago, but had to stop because of this update with EIP 1 on the statuses part. Now that is done, we would like to resume the task of reaching out to author and take the appropriate, take the EIP to the appropriate status that it needs to be in. In that, I have reached out to the author of EIP 2481, that is eth/66 request identifier. This is currently under discussion in all core dev meeting, and get another clients are talking about it, like how we should proceed about this proposal. So I reached out to the author, and they have created a pull request. Earlier this was in draft, so they have created a pull request to change the status to review, and maybe eventually to last call and the final. So I just want to let other categories know about it, that we are resuming this task, and if anybody finds time and reach out to authors, that would be great.
Who do we get in touch with?
We have one Excel sheet that we started sometimes back. I'm going to share the link here. It's basically about like whoever from the category teams are reaching out to any of the authors, just list your name against that proposal and whatever is the progress. I don't think that this sheet is very much up to date. We may have to look into that again, and from here we can reach out to people.
Okay.
I'd have a bit of a tangential thing, but I know that we were talking about previously, like it being okay, or maybe we were gonna start interviewing like startups as well, just because like in the weeks that we don't have EIPs. So I've actually been like talking to one person who might eventually, I mean not like anytime soon probably, but she might eventually want to come on with her company. So is that something that we're gonna endorse, you think?
I am not sure about that. Like, I don't know. A few weeks back, we were also approached by another project in our Discord itself. Like they were launching, mm, their project about providing node services and something. So they reached out to us, and I had a meeting with that. I wanted to come about that meeting as well. I'm not sure. This is something that the group has to decide, like if we would like to endorse or if we would like to, kind of getting sponsorship on the newsletter that we publish or something like that. I mean, I'm open to suggestions here.
I think it would be good. I think that not all companies or whatever would need to be sponsored. And I think generally like if I think there's nothing wrong with being sponsored as well. I think there's only good things from making sponsorship money or whatever. But like I feel like it would maybe diversify the podcast a bit and add value, in my opinion.
I mean, I have some concerns here. I mean, I'm just sharing my concern. I want to be closer to, the development of the Ethereum main network related to community only, not endorsing any project upfront. So that's my basic idea, but I know this is a group project. So I mean, teamwork. So if anybody has different opinions.
That's a really good point. And I mean, I would I guess my response to that would be, alternatively, we could always create a different, it's like subdomain, as it were, of the podcast that does. I just feel like it's a thing that like people in the community would enjoy watching versus necessarily like diluting the purpose of PEEP and the IP, the PEEPA, startup.
I'd plus one the spin-off idea. Like I do think that Peep and Eep is actually really starting to get traction at being something that broadcasts news, so to speak, on the protocol layer. And I do see some value in branching out from strictly EIPs, but only hardly. Like I mean, if Alexei would want to come on and speak about Regenesis, which technically is not an EIP, or at least it isn't yet, I could see value in that because it does strike me as the same kind of content as EIPs. I definitely agree with your point, Alita, that there is value in having something like that, like that's being put forth to the community. I also do think that Peep and Eep has like really come into its brand on the like protocol layer though. So I mean that's not a hard and fast rule. There are companies that operate on the protocol layer and have a lot to say about the protocol layer. That would make sense to me in Peep and Eep, even if it's not about an EIP per se. But that's just my 2 cents. I'm having an opinionated day.
No, no worries. Thanks for that. Yeah, I mean, like, I think I am also in line with William's thought. Like, if we add things which are like in line with the mainnet or the development that is going on, maybe even if it is not related to any particular proposal, would make sense. But for the other community projects, maybe we can think of some other segment that we can start. I mean, if we get good number of projects, say for example, we do it for like 10 projects and we talk to those projects, get those projects in line, and then we can kind of create a series of 10 projects, something different from Peepany. But yes, that can be considered.
So I also think it might be good if we just created like a spin-off that was just kind of like whatever. Like it's like we don't need to, like we can just do it for different people. It like not as on a regular schedule. Like, you know what I mean? Like basically just like a really bad like podcast, as it were. I mean, I don't know, bad, but like just kind of like all over the place. Because I mean, I think having the ability and like a place to do that when it becomes like pertinent is something that's valuable for a team. And then keeping, of course, the EIP stuff consistent and well, it's organized by Pooja, so of course it's going to be great. But like, point is that it one, and then you let me organize the other one, and it's going to be a mess. But anyway, I don't know. I think that it's something worth thinking about more, for sure.
I think there's room for both. Like I definitely see like a distinct vector for both of those. I mean, the truth is what you're pitching now, Alita, actually really reminds me of where I thought Peep and Eep was going in the beginning. And yeah, I mean, I like that idea then, like it now too. I think it definitely has its place. So yeah, I definitely come in on the spin-off idea.
So yeah, maybe Anita, if you can, I mean, my proposal here would be, if we can draft a kind of layout how we would want to proceed with this different section. Maybe we can think about it. And as I mentioned that with the Moloch grant, we may have room for adding some new initiative in 2021. I mean, I would love to discuss what people think about how we can increase our contribution. I'll be explaining the part in the later part of Moloch grant. What are the sections that we applied for, and how much money do we have? So we can possibly think about that. Cool. So moving on. The next meeting was 1559 implementers meeting. So the notes were done by Griffin. Thanks, Alita, for the heads up that you could not be able to do that. It was a contribution by Griffin, and he is from the Snake Charmer group. So a shout out for Snake Charmer group. There will be no funding request for this meeting. It's a contribution from their team. The summaries are like Tim Roughgarden shared an economic analysis report that is out there. And Scar from the Quilt team discussed something about transaction pool issues, and the write-up is available now. The next meeting is on 17th December. It's not after 4 weeks, it's just after the 2 weeks. So we may have to look into the notes part. I think Edson is scheduled for that. Next one is all core dev meeting. William, do you have anything to share here?
Yes, I do. I do understand that probably your message before about trying to get the notes out on time is partially directed at me. I have not pushed the notes yet because I have not finished yet. This is the first time I've been this delayed.
Oh, no,
I just
no,
ran
it
into a ton of
wasn't.
stuff over the last couple of weeks. Oh, it should have been.
No.
I'm super late this time.
That's all
I
right.
should have it up before the next meeting, though. I'm about an hour in out of an hour and 35 minutes of meeting. And this is actually a new record for me. I am still on point 1A. 1A went over an hour even because I'm like 59 minutes in and they haven't hit a conclusion or not even close to hitting a conclusion yet. So I can tell you about the first hour of the meeting. The first hour of the meeting was dedicated to sort of just like a thorny bundle of issues that they've run into with the Berlin upgrade. One of the EIPs that has been pushed very hard for the Berlin upgrade is EIP 2929. I'm going to skip going into technical detail because I'd have to pull up the notes and will probably give myself a headache just like trying to get down into everything here. The thing with 2929 by itself is there is a theory that there may be some contracts that it could break. So because of that, they made a EIP 2930, which was supposed to take care of some of those issues. But then even after 2930, there was, in theory, maybe some other things that would break. So they made EIP 2972, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. And so now there's just sort of this feature creep that's been coming along. So like 2929 by itself might already be a bundle, but then we have the question of that means if we have to push in 2930 and 2972 and even maybe switch over the hashing algorithm from RLP to SSE. No, sorry, not the hashing algorithm, the hashing encoder from RLP to SSE. And so Mike Zoltu presented a number of different options, basically more or less all of the available options, broadly speaking, about what could go into Berlin or what perhaps not. And it has literally been 1 hour of discussion around that. As stated, it is a pretty thorny issue. Various members of the call, Peter Zalagi, Martin, and others have managed to make also some hybrid options that sort of exist between some of the options that Mike presented. The one thing that seems clear thus far is that we're not going to do SSZ yet. SSZ is definitely on the map somewhere, especially because ETH2 uses it by default. The question is how much effort we want to spend here and now or when in order to get it in now. There is a large feeling that Berlin has been pushed off enough, and at this point we should do whatever we can just to get Berlin somewhere in the near future. When looking at something like SSZ, it's potentially a very, very large project even. I believe the optimistic reports were putting that at like maybe 6 to 9 months for implementation. So that was why there was a lot of pushback about putting in SSC now. And that is what I've got.
Awesome, thank you. So yeah, there have been some more discussion on EIP 2972 that came up later in the breakout room meeting. This meeting was scheduled on Monday. Thank you, William, for that. And I think rest of the 15 minutes meeting would not take would not be having too much of discussion. That was it. Like it should be smaller for you. Thank you so much for having this very, very long conversation. Summarizing this long conversation for us. So the next meeting is ED2 meeting. I don't see Edson here. So let's move on to a breakout room meeting. Last meeting occurred on Monday, and the agenda, video, and the decisions made are available on Ethereum/PM GitHub repo. The questions that we tried to answer there was like with respect to EIP2, I think 2718 type transaction. It was like, how do we hash type transaction? How do we wire encode def P2P type transaction? And how do we wire encode def P2P legacy transaction? The good news is the group present in the meeting were able to get to answer to all these 3 questions, and those answers are also available in the comment section of the agenda. The next steps decided from the meeting were like Micah has to update the EIP 2976, that is type transaction over gossip, with the decision made. Clients, those were present were Get, Besu, Open Ethereum. So seems like we have consensus there on how to move forward, and the decision would be shared with the all core dev team on Friday call. Moving on, the next item on agenda is PEEP and EEP. So last week we had a proposal with ENR with Felix Lang, and that is really good discussion with Felix. It was our first networking proposal on the PEEP and EEP series. I highly recommend people to go watch, especially for the clients who are implementing this EIP in client. The next PEEP and EEP series recording is tomorrow. It is for EIP 2938. We already have done first recording of EIP 2938, but there were some questions that weren't answered. Like we didn't have enough time, so we have invited the author again, and we hope to get answers to that questions. It is at noon ET, 1700 UTC. And next week, we are planning to have EIP 1559. This is the first time we are having EIP 1559 on PEEP and EEP, and Tim Baiko will be the guest for this proposal. Now, moving on to the next item, it is cat herders funding. So I'm very excited to announce that our NGP request is approved. I think that is there in some, review period or something like that. So it was recently approved. We asked for 45,000 USD, the grant for next 6 months. This grant, like this time, we asked for 3 different parts. Like one was like herder and sheep funding for 6 months, then some pool for website development, and then some pool for some other tasks that we may take in 2021. So if people have thought and they would like to initiate something like new task or content that can be helpful for community related to Ethereum main network, I think having a proposal on that and getting it budgeted would be, good way to proceed. And all the members of the cat herders are, or anyone from the community are also welcome to share a proposal, and we can see how we can go about that. So just one thing I want to mention, like this fund cannot be withdrawn right now because it is under review period. And when we applied for the fund, it was over 600 USD. The price of it was over 600. So there's a possibility that we may get a little less or a little more than what we asked for, but that should be fine. I want to thank Hudson for coordinating this one, and everyone else who voted for our proposal in Moloch. And yeah, that's all about it. So if you guys have any suggestion or questions on this grant.
Congratulations. That's awesome. I'm glad you were getting funding.
Yeah.
Nice work.
Right. So yeah, one thing that I wanted to mention here, as I mentioned that we had this detailed information provided for Moloch people to review through the work that we have done in past and the proposal of work that we are planning to do in future. The amount granted for the herder and sheep was for 112 hours per month. That is somewhere around five hours a day or something like that. Earlier we were requesting it for 4 hours, but this time we had requested for 5 hours or something. So that is one change. And yes, we will have good room for website development or any other initiative, like we were talking about having some hackathon or online event or something like that. I would invite participation here. Thank you, everyone. Okay, I think we have just 5 minutes left, and let's quickly get into PM and funding repo. So do we have anything open? Just let me click. I think for PM repo, I mean, the issues repo, I don't see anything new that is coming up. Hudson is working on closing that side-eye thing. Wow, this is cool. We do not have any funding issue open. So we have tried to clear out all the funding last week, and I'm happy that there's nothing pending. Okay, now the last item on the agenda is review the outstanding action item from the previous meeting. Number one is Hudson to merge an outstanding meeting PRs and close issues. I think he already did because this time it looks clean. Hudson to investigate converting, I think it's some spelling error or something. It should be side-eye, multi-fig problem. And he's looking into it. Hudson to reapproach the ETH staking follow-up with Lane. Unfortunately, he isn't available for the meeting today. So we'll keep it open and look in the next meeting what's the update on that. Decisions item are ECH team agrees to pursuing the CLR fund. That I think related to the CLR fund team by that have recently listed cat herders as one of the receivers for the matching fund that they are doing. Also, the Gitcoin grant round 8 is now available. So if people want to support Ethereum cat herders, they can always support us by as low as a DAI. That would be helpful.
Do we have a grant token right now?
It
On
is,
Gitcoin?
yes.
There is, okay, I didn't notice it. All right, cool.
Yeah, so the details will be provided in the Ethereum cat herders newsletter that I'm going to push today after this meeting. And yeah, we will have the details of both CLR fund as well as the Gitcoin grant fund. Okay, I think that's all about it. There are few pending items also on the blogs on ECH Medium. So Edson has submitted a blog on EIP statuses, like what is the current statuses that would be followed. But there was some discussion in the EIP meeting that we should be checking if that has to go on Ethereum cat herders website or should it go to the Ethereum blog or somewhere else with the help of chains. I am not sure. I haven't heard back from Edson on that, and maybe we'll check with chains on it if there is any progress. And I'm holding the publishing of that blog until we get clarification on where it should go. So that's all for today's meeting. Does anyone have anything else to
We got Max here today. Welcome, Max.
Hello, welcome, Max. I'm sorry, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself? I'm sorry, I didn't notice earlier.
Might be having audio issues. I remember before when he was trying to get in, there was like a bit of
Yeah.
in and out.
Is that Max
yeah,
Simonchuk, or which Max is that? Anyone know who that is?
Oh, he just mentioned I'm having mic issues. No worries.
Welcome anyway.
Yeah, welcome.
Yeah, happy to have you. So feel free to, jump in the conversation in the Discord channel and let us know, like what would be your area of interest and where would you like to contribute. We can accordingly, align you to the team and have the right access to share your thoughts and ideas. Okay, that's all from my end, and we are at time. Thank you everyone for joining today. See you all in 2 weeks on December 22. Have a great day, evening, everyone.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.